Welcome to Moments in Time and Space, a microfiction podcast, bringing you tales of horror and suspense with your host, Aaron Maracle. Hello everyone. Many of us have easy access to clean drinking water. We gulp it down without a second thought and never worry about it not being available or safe. It's something we take for granted. But what if we couldn't? Peyton rolled the sealed water bottle back and forth in her hand. The clear liquid inside sloshed against the thin plastic walls. Her fingers rubbed against the worn paper label that bore an official-looking seal, promising a guarantee of safety from some government agency. Her dry lips were cracked and stung with an ache that would not go away. She ran her almost dry tongue over them to try to moisten them, but found no relief from the pain. The intense thirst her body felt was a reminder that it had been some time since she had drunk water. 8 months ago, Peyton would have cracked open the bottle rolling around her hand and sucked down the water without hesitation. That was before all the water turned to poison. She remembered when Lisa, her eldest daughter, fell sick first. She had gone to celebrate a friend's 16th birthday that included a backyard pool party. After a great day of fun in the sun, Lisa had come home and talked Peyton's ear off about the party and how she wanted one next year. Her daughter had gone to bed that night a happy, healthy teen, but by morning, Lisa was bedridden. At first, Peyton thought her daughter just didn't want to go to school, but panicked when she realized it was no trick. With some effort, Peyton and her husband George managed to get Lisa to the hospital. The doctors were able to treat Lisa's symptoms, but the cause of her illness eluded them. It had taken a few weeks, but Lisa recovered, along with a few dozen other people who shared the same mystery illness. A few months went by, and more people were getting sick just like Lisa had. The illness had become so widespread that the government launched a scientific task force to figure out the root cause. Researchers were able to determine that people were getting ill from something in untreated water sources. The government recommended precautions to reduce the chance of becoming ill from contaminated water sources. These recommendations included consuming bottled water or making sure any water you did drink came from a trusted, safe source, like municipal water treatment plants. For a while, the precautions seemed to work, and less people were getting sick. Many began to think the water crisis was finally behind them, and even Peyton was hopeful as well. That all went out the window when her son Bobby and 2/3 of his school caught the illness. Peyton found herself back at the hospital, repeating the same painful cycle she experienced with Lisa, waiting to see if Bobby would recover or get worse. Thankfully, her son pulled through, as did most of his schoolmates. An investigation determined that the children from Bobby's school most likely caught the illness from one of the water fountains located in the building. The government quietly released a report on the incident, and Peyton found there was very little information in it. What alarmed her about the report, what was not said. The water fountains were all on municipal sources, which the government had declared to be safe. More months passed, and things just seemed to go from bad to worse. Researchers had still not identified what was causing people to fall ill, and sources of water that had once been deemed safe were now anything but. At this point in the crisis, the government was providing people with bottled water that had been treated at special facilities. The news repeatedly covered these water bottling plants to reassure people they were safe and their best source for water. The news coverage worked, and people, including Peyton's family, made sure they only consumed water from the government-provided bottles. Reported cases of mysterious illness dropped, and it looked like the crisis was finally over. Restrictions were relaxed, and slowly things went back to normal, but not for Peyton. She insisted that her family should only consume water from the government-provided bottles for a little while longer, just to be on the safe side. As it turns out, there was no safe side. Peyton shivered as she remembered how George had collapsed at dinner that horrible night. Everything seemed fine, and in an instant, George fell off his chair and onto the floor of the kitchen. Seeing her husband convulsing while her children screamed almost broke Peyton. Emergency service had been quick to respond to her 911 call, and George was soon resting comfortably at the hospital, along with others who had similar experiences. Comfortable was a relative term, as George was in a coma, and doctors could not give Peyton any indication when he would recover. The government reassured the public there was no cause for alarm, but they had no answer for the latest round of the illness. Cramps in Peyton's leg reminded her once again of the thirst torturing her body. She had watched her kids consume the water from these allegedly safe bottles, and with each sip they took, Peyton wanted to slap the bottles out of their hands. Part of her knew this was foolish, because the water had to be safe. The government had nothing to benefit from intentionally poisoning the population. However, the paranoia from extreme dehydration spun all sorts of outrageous conspiracies in her head that seemed more and more plausible the longer she thought about them. Payne shook her head and immediately regretted it. The room spun as a dizzy spell washed over her. She closed her eyes and gripped the edge of the table with her free hand, trying to command the kitchen to stop spinning with her willpower. The dizziness passed, and Peyton knew she would not go on living like this. She still had 2 children depending on her to take care of them, and that was enough to convince her to take the gamble. With a grimace, Peyton removed the plastic cap from the bottle and raised it to her dry, burning lips. Do you know what's in your water? Thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. You can also follow me on Twitter at MomentsInTAS. Feel free to recommend this podcast to others and help it grow. The opening and closing theme is Creepy Night by Daniel Carlton. Until next time, be safe, be smart, and be well. See you soon.